Okay. You can hear me, right? Am I clear? Okay. Everyone's comfortable? Yeah? Okay, guys, thanks a lot for. Go back to heads missing. Okay, thanks for sitting. Yeah? Yeah? Okay, guys, thanks a lot for coming here and being a part of this. So there's a bathroom just around the corner. If you guys want to take a break, just please go ahead, don't worry about it, right? I'm going to give you a quick introduction. So, about 8 years back, the boss was on the rooftop. There's some of you who have still seen it, and it was only me, and it was a small 100 square foot place, And we actually had Vivek who came there and actually did something very similar, very similar. He had just come back. So Vivek used to run this team called the Kinkini Youth Sports Cycling Team. And these guys had just visited the Tour of Friendship. And that was I think that was the first race ever where, someone from India who was not a professional actually went out and, raced and come back. So Vivek came back and he actually spoke to the community about it, about, what the effort was. And it's amazing because today, like just a couple of days back, we had about 25 people who had actually gone for the Tour of Friendship. And it's the last 8 years, there's so much that's happened. The 25 people who went there, it's a lot of people like you and me who have really raced hard and represented India in a national event. And it's not just that. I mean, I don't know how many of us are aware about this, but there's another event called the LEL, which is the Edinburgh-London Roubaix. And again, I think about 16 to 18 people are going for that. There's something called the Paris-robaix. There are downhill races happening in Malaysia. The downhill races happening in Bali. The Philippines. Like a lot of people are actually heading out, racing at really good events. And I think it's events like these where where guys like Vivek actually take the trouble to share their experience, share their journey, which really inspires other people. So cycling has come a long way, and that's what the Boss Expert series is about. It's about just getting experts in their domain to come and just have a chat with us, share all the experiences, kind of share the journey, and hopefully inspire people. Right? So that's what the Expert series is about. I'm quickly going to introduce Suraj. So Suraj is basically he wears a lot of hats here at Bots, like all of us do. One of the things that he does is he's a bike specialist, which means he kind of inspires people to get people on bikes. So he and his team have set this whole thing up. So Suraj is going to take over from here and kind of run the show. Yeah.
Okay, thank you all for coming today evening. So I'm going to straight away get into introducing Vivek in the present. Rohan spoke about Vivek in the past, what he's done until he got himself into one of the biggest cycling brands in the world, especially as he currently works there. But before all that, so a couple of things. Maybe Vivek is the only person who's been cycling for a really long time. And when I mean maybe from school all the way till now.
Saying I'm old.
Okay.
No. More than that.
Okay. So, and also one thing is cycling, the other thing is knowing a ton of things about cycling itself. One of the people that I've met who knows about cycling, about product, about riding in different parts of the world, so really good in that aspect as well. And some examples of the kind of riding that he's done is adventure touring. He's also been a high-speed bike messenger. I don't know how many of us have got a chance to do that. Then finally, we have seen him being part of competitive racing in India. I think one of the first teams that went or was established in India and then went out to race. That was the SKCT team itself. So then moving on to him joining Specialized itself, that happened about 4 years back. He's been working with different hats with Specialized. He started off with training people across Southeast Asia. Now he's taken up a different role of being an expert in the road segment and triathlon segment. That means what does it take to grow these two segments in Southeast Asia itself from the brand. that is the specialized brand. So I would like to invite him on stage. Please.
That all sounded so good that it can only be downhill from here.
Okay. So that was an intro to you, Vivek. So before we get into this conversation about the Roubaix ride you've come back from, I would like to show everybody what the Roubaix looks like. Right. So we're going to go into a short clip.
Suraj is controlling the TV with the phone.
Just one.
That's hard. Keep your Sue in the house. Getting into this.
You can actually.
That's actually pretty good.
Yeah. You can start off with the conversation and just get into the video in a bit.
Okay, I'm starting off the conversation.
Yeah. Just an intro of. Sorry.
Wow! Welcome to the rave, people. Okay, so we'll forget about the tech stuff. Basically, what that was a video, because it's really hard to imagine and understand what riding that event is like. But we have all evening for me to tell you about it. So what we'll do is, maybe we'll come back to it later, but we'll just dive into Suraj's questions first, and I'll try and create a picture in your minds of what we did first.
So how many of you have actually seen a glimpse of Paris-robaix? We have seen it, right? Okay. We've seen that going with cobbles is not the most easiest of the parts. It involves a lot of crashes sometimes, it involves having mechanicals. And it's not the most pleasant form of cycling. So why did you want to do an event which is so brutal?
Yeah, so for me it was kind of one of those bucket list items, something that I really wanted to do at some point. I mean, Paris-robaix is known to be pretty much one of the hardest one-day bike races in the world. I mean, to quote, I think it was George Hinkepi, he said that at the end of Paris-robaix, it feels like at the end of Tour de France. It's just one day, but like it's such a beating and it's so hard that that's how you feel. You really come out of it broken. And I don't know. I think it's a problem with cyclists, especially road cyclists, that we're all looking for these very painful and difficult things to do. And if you're looking for pain and something difficult, then it's Paris-robaix. So anyway, this was on the list, but what really kind of triggered it all the way was that this bike, And this is a bike that we came out with recently, right? It's a brand new model of the Roubaix, which has a whole bunch of amazing technology in it, which I'll tell you guys about. But when I saw this bike and I heard from all of my colleagues, in the company, from engineers to everybody else, about how revolutionary it is. This is before it was even released. I was like, okay, wow. Now I want to ride that bike where it was created for. So the Roubaix was a bike that was designed for Tom Bonnen, actually. It was designed for Tom Bonnen to ride and win the Paris-robaix, which he did 4 times. So I was like, okay, I'm riding this bike over there. And then the other thing was that this was Tom Bonnen's farewell. So he was retiring from the sport. This was his last Roubaix. Of course, we wanted to see him win it. He did, but he rode it like a champ. So I was like, oh my God, I'm going to ride the Roubaix at Roubaix for Tom Bonnen's last race and maybe get a selfie with him. So that was why I chose to do it now.
Perfect. So one thing is registering for the event.
Yeah.
Right. The next thing is actually wanting to train for it and be there during the day of the event.
Yeah.
So what kind of training went into this one-day event itself?
So, I mean, a lot. I trained for a few months leading up to this. I mean, I had decent fitness before that, but really had to take it to a high level to complete this because my goal actually was to complete it. It's very different when you go into like a race and you're like, oh, I'm there to win it or to podium or this or that. My goal was quite simply to finish it, survive till the end. And so I did a lot of training, and a lot of the training that I needed to do was actually build my different from maybe a lot of other training that I've done here. I had to build my endurance because the distance that we had to cover was about 175 kilometers. But then it's not a 175 kilometer ride. You have 55 kilometers of cobbles in there. And for any of you guys who ride mountain bikes and you go riding on the trails, you know that like in 1 hour of trail riding, or even if you've done like just 15 to 20 kilometers, you're cooked. So there's 55 kilometers of really rough stuff on a road bike. So you have to be really strong as well. And maybe I'll explain later why you have to be strong. You really have to get so much stronger than you are to be able to ride these cobbles.
So this sounds already like a very tough event. So is it okay for someone, if one of them chooses to ride this, train by themselves, or a professional coach would be something for?
So I would say that there's absolutely no doubt that working with a coach is always the way to go. What I chose to do, which was really nice, so I actually trained with Wattbomb's coaching, and I'm sure everybody here knows Naveen John. So Naveen John was my coach for the event, which was also really nice because I had been working for so long supporting him, during SKCT. For whatever events he was planning to do, and now he was really supporting me and helping me out with my personal goals. So that was also a really nice little twist. But there's no doubt that the difference that it made to work with him was massive. What was also really cool is that Naveen, having spent good amount of time racing in Belgium, he's raced the cobbles, so he actually has that understanding of what it's like to ride the cobbles. And it's completely different from anything that we know. So he was able to really develop training programs to strengthen what I needed, strengthen to ride, to raise my power to be able to ride the cobbles.
Got it. And so always a bike ride involves training, and then there is, of course, you have to eat, you have to drink properly. So what kind of nutrition plan or strategy do you have while training and for the event itself?
So I'll say this: like during our time with SKCT, with our team, at some point we started working with some people who were really pro in the whole nutrition space. So that was Scratch Labs. So we worked with Viju Thomas from Scratch Labs, and he helped us understand how important nutrition and hydration was for racing. And that was a massive learning, and something that we've all really taken forward since those days. And for me, because I'm a working professional like all of you, and a dad like many of you, and a husband and so on. You can't be out training all day like a professional athlete would. So one of the things that I could do is really get my nutrition on point. And I know that alone what a difference it makes. So, I mean, what you would all know from my Facebook posts and everything, I'm always tagging Happy Healthy Me. So I've had the support of Happy Healthy Me throughout my training and into the race. And it so happens that I am married to Happy Healthy Me. There's someone who's there, who's a co-founder of the brand. And so really I've had support with what I eat throughout. So I basically had a completely organic and super healthy diet leading up to this event in my training, and also in France. So I finished my training in France. A big part of nutrition is kind of what you're eating all the time. But when you start to do big volumes of training, like you start to do those long 150-kilometer days, and you have to do it again the next day, then recovery becomes a very big part of it. So not only like lunch, dinner, and all of those things, but I was taking a lot of natural organic supplements, smoothies, before and after indoor workouts, before and after long rides. Actually, maybe Namu, if I can call you up to tell something about it, because you understand it way better than I do, frankly. So maybe you can just shed light on what it is that I was taking.
Yeah, sure. Sure. Hi everyone. This was really exciting for the family, and I've been doing a lot of research 2 years before I started this company for my own stamina and the whole family. So what we did, there were two aspects to planning Vivek's nutrition. The one is the everyday food, so the real food. The overall theme was let's eat real food, no funny extracts. So at meal time, it was like three aspects to the plate. One is a whole grain, and the idea is to get as close to the whole grain or the plant source as possible. So if it's processed and turned into a flour, we try to stay away from it. So we'd rather have like a brown rice, or a millet. And we keep it really interesting so that we're not eating, like 10 years ago, I think we were eating pasta every day because that was the knowledge that was out there, And it was really interesting because you mentioned Deju, and when he visited, he stayed with us. So we got to spend time with him. And in fact, he didn't even recommend bars. So when he supports these proteins, they're not carrying these Cliff bars. He makes them rice cakes with rice and coconut milk and raisins and salt, like just real ingredients. So we kind of followed that. And we eat mostly Indian food at home, like lightly spiced Indian food. So like I said, it was a lot of whole grain. And then lentils, dal, and these some sort of a protein source in every single meal. And then just tons of veggies. Some people tend to focus on the protein, and then they forget the veggies, but the idea is to just stuff your plate with lots of veggies. And you don't have to overanalyze or try to figure out which one is good for this nutrient. You just have to have like all the colors, or when you go shopping, just buy all the colors. Have some raw and some cooked. That's what we would do. And then to sort of fine-tune the nutrition to keep up with the workload, we added superfoods to the diet. So superfoods are basically nutrient-dense foods, and we brought some. In fact, I think most of you tasted the green smoothie, right? So there are a lot of superfoods in there. There's spirulina, the invincible super greens, which is a green blend, amla. These are all made in India, okay? And you just have to put between 1 teaspoon to half teaspoon to 1 teaspoon in a smoothie, and you get a huge boost of immunity, and it also helps you with recovery.
It's all UCI legal, okay, by the way.
So that's, I think, been a big part. And we kind of, in fact, we work with a lot of Indian grains, like even ragi, and it was kind of crazy because we went with like half a suitcase of these flowers and all to France. We were going to France and eating croissants every day. So we went with ragi and pumpkin seeds and and we have a big bowl of ragi porridge. And really simple. Most of these dishes are like 4-5 ingredients as well. Okay, so we would just boil the ragi flour. We'd add pumpkin seeds for good fat, protein, some jaggery. So we stick to healthier sweeteners. We pretty much stay away from sugar the entire time. So jaggery, mostly jaggery. Otherwise, you can try coconut sugar, palm sugar, things like that, and fruit like banana.
So there's a comedy angle to this. I'm half French. We went to France, which is a country of food, right? With my mother, who is French, with a suitcase full of ragi. And there we were making ragi for breakfast in the country of croissants and all of these wonderful things. But it's okay, she's very supportive and she's a big fan as well. So that was quite funny. You know how Indians will travel with a crate of mangoes and all of that, right? That's us.
Yeah.
So,
it wasn't that, but close.
But I mean, you know, to counter that, right? So those were all special nutrients. But what was really fantastic was when we were there, when we finished our training, like this picture is actually the farmers market in little villages in France where training was happening. And you just go to these farmers markets and you buy fresh produce, and a lot of it is also organic. And these huge, beautiful vegetables, and fill backpacks with vegetables and then bring it home and cook it. And I mean, I'd like to say that in a sense, a really, really big part of doing this event for me was getting the nutrition, because well, I'll come back to it when we get to the end of the event and I'll tell you. Yeah.
Thank you. No,
thanks. Thank you for everything also, like for the food up there.
So that was a very supportive family in terms of nutrition. It's just not enough if you have nutrition alone, right? You got to have your. Let me give my example. If I'm out riding 3 days or 4 days in the morning, I'm already getting. Why are you riding your bike so much?
From home.
From home.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. But to do an event like this, you need a very supportive family which understands that you have a goal which you want to hit. So tell us more about what it takes.
Maybe Suraj is a really nice guy, so his family doesn't want him to be away from home. I don't know, my family kind of okay with it, so maybe that says something about me at home, I don't know.
But, one more thing is, all of us over here together is like trying to balance out riding, work, family, and a struggle is always evident.
Yeah.
So tell us how did you manage all of this?
So this is cool because these are all pictures from the pre-training in France. So basically, I just took everybody training with me. It was great to see we all went riding. Even my mom after 60-year break. So this is Team GoDaddy, which was really, really awesome. I had a lot of support from the family and everybody being involved in this. I mean, I really recommend this to everybody, you know. What is it that we call these racecations, right?
Yeah.
So you make a vacation with the race, it's a racecation, you get your whole family involved. Namu herself does triathlon, so when she's gone and done tries, we've been the whole family that's there as a support system. So it's a really nice way to combine your passion with the family, and you know, everybody's excited about it. And the truth is that when everybody is so supportive and has some kind of a role, you know, even the kids can have a role, then it's much nicer for you who are doing the event, because you're getting all of this from them, all of this support in some way or the other, and it becomes you know, everybody's in it together. So from the family side, I'm blessed that, you know, that's worked out really, really well. From a work standpoint, you know, people say like, hey, you work for Specialized, that's great, so you ride your bike all the time. That's not entirely true, because we do a lot of Excel and PowerPoint and all of that. So I probably ride less since I started working in the industry than before, not probably, like 10 times less. So it's really tough, you know, because you have to put in so many hours of work. But I'll say what's been really awesome is working in the cycling industry. All of my colleagues at work have also been super supportive of this, because another one of my colleagues did Paris-robaix the year before, and that was an inspiration for me. And now this has been an inspiration, you know, for more people in the office. So everybody is supporting from work, and so much so that we have a lot of, because we're all over Asia, so we have a lot of conference calls. Like a lot of our work happens on Skype. You know, people are in different countries in Southeast Asia. So I would actually take some conference calls, video conference calls from the trainer. because that's the only time that I had to train. So I'll be sitting on my trainer and pedaling, and then I had my Park Tool bike stand, which is holding my laptop over here. I wasn't shirtless, so I did wear something, normally shirtless, right, when you're on the trainer. But it was pretty awesome to be able to be in a conference call with all your colleagues about some serious business thing, and you're pedaling away and sweating on the trainer. So to be able to do that was amazing. So I think I've been really fortunate, but this is the biggest challenge that a lot of people face. And if your family is supportive, nothing like it. And getting them involved is the best way for them to be supportive. So Namu started doing triathlon at some point, and so we take turns, right, with our events. So when you need to train, then I'm supportive and so on. But I think it's great. Get your families involved. So much more fun for everyone.
So getting the family involved means more bikes at home.
That's a problem.
Okay. All right. So of course the race was, or the challenge itself was in France, but you didn't spend time training in France. At least most of it, right? You spent time in Bangalore or in Asia somewhere, doing your work. So how did you manage this training here when we didn't have 50 kilometers of cobbles anywhere in Bangalore or in any part of India?
Yeah.
What went into it?
So it's a great question because like a lot of the time when you're training for a certain event or a certain race or whatever, a big part of it is, one is getting your condition up there, but towards the end of your training, you're trying to do simulations of what that exact event is going to be. So this is a very difficult event to simulate because there is nothing like it here. So I'm always hearing people crib about how bad Indian roads are and all of this. Like, you have no idea. The best roads in this whole journey of mine have been in India while I was looking for bad roads. So basically, I just spend my time doing long rides. So even if I was doing a 150K ride, I would do a 150K ride on the worst roads that I could find with potholes, gravel. Now, worst roads, that's like a road biking term. I think they're lovely roads to ride. It's super fun to not just be on a smooth, straight blacktop. Riding through the woods and all of that is awesome. So there are certain stretches that I found which are roads that were being built. So you know how we use those jelly stones here for road construction, the big ones, and then after that they put the small ones, and then after that they put the asphalt. So there are roads where they've done the mud and the jelly and then abandoned it. So those are like pretty much hell, and they're sharp stones. They're not like the cobbles which are bigger and rounded. So I found some of these abandoned roads, not such long stretches, and I would ride those, and they're really, really hard to ride. And that was the closest that I got to simulating the conditions of what Roubaix would be, except I'd never done Roubaix, so I didn't know how crazy it was going to be, but that definitely helped a lot. It also helps you understanding how to set up your bike because things start to fly off, you start having punctures, and that's a big part of it, figuring out how to tune your equipment to ride those kind of conditions. Yeah, so
the last 2 weeks of training was spent in France.
Yeah.
Yeah. So more about that.
Yeah. So actually, before I tell you about that, like I'm a big advocate of trying to get people off the highways. There's a lot of road bikers who just spend their time on the highways, and I'm always saying like, don't do it because there's so many beautiful country roads out there. So I've got 2 bikes here, and that one is nicely not cleaned so that you can see how it's used, and that's a road bike. So I'll just talk a little bit about these 2 bikes because that's called the Diverge, and it's a fantastic bike, and I did a lot of my training in India on that bike because it took a while before I could get my hands on this one, which incidentally is called Spirulina, like the superfood that Nomo was talking about. My kids named it Superbike after superfood. So that's the Diverge, and the reason that I chose to train on that was because it's an endurance bike, and it's a bike that's really designed to handle all kinds of different terrain. So it's not, if you want to go on the trails, you can go on the trails. It takes really wide tires. So if you look at the kind of tires that I have on that bike, those are like cyclocross tires. So it's a heavier bike than this because it's an alloy bike, and the Roubaix is a carbon bike. But it was really, really perfect for me to log my miles in India. it's the kind of bike, being an endurance bike, where you're like a long haul trucker. I mean, you can just ride hours and hours and hours in that bike. So I did a lot of my training on that, and as you can see by the mud, I would just ride anywhere. I haven't cleaned it since the training. Then I moved over to this machine when I was finally able to get my hands on it, courtesy Bums on the Saddle. So thank you very much for making it available so fast. And of course, this is one of the most sophisticated bikes that there is right now. And I think we'll talk about that in a bit, right? The details. So this bike I used in India for a while, and then when the training moved to France, I got to ride it over there. And that's when I actually started to ride on really rough roads. There's so much beautiful training terrain in France. I mean, it's like a dream for a cyclist. And what's nice is a lot of these are old roads, really old roads without much traffic. So they're not the perfect surface, but it's the perfect scenery, the perfect gradients. I mean, you're in the mountains, but you're riding on a lot of the time. If you take the older roads, they're pretty rough. So I got to understand this bike a lot in my final training in France. And to answer your question, Suraj, about what's the difference, right? Maybe with training there. The amazing thing was that we rented houses in villages in France, and oh God, this is something I miss even till now. But you're in the countryside, and it's beautiful, and it's perfect for training. You step out of your house, and you're on your bike, and your training starts then. We all have to deal with this bullshit, right? Of 20 kilometers getting out of town without dying, and all of that, and then even worse, coming back because now the buses have joined the party. So there it was quality training. I mean, from the moment you leave the house to the moment you're back, that's your training, right? Quality all the way.
So I want to just rewind over here. You're saying that you advocate people, you like to advocate people to like move away from the highway, right? Where was this picture actually taken?
Okay, so you all know the highway, right? The Hyderabad highway that goes to the airport and then to Hyderabad, where everybody rides. This is parallel to that, pretty much. I'm not sure about the exact location. I think this is near Hesargata, but all the way parallel to that road are roads that look like this, and roads like, I don't know if you can see, but this is all gravel. There are beautiful gravel roads, and this is really good for you to learn how to handle your bike as well, because you don't learn anything about how to handle a bike by riding straight on flat surfaces. So this is in Bangalore, 20 kilometers out of the center of town. There's like fantastic places to ride, trees like this, roads like this.
Awesome. Okay. So that was training in France. Now, so you spoke about the equipment itself, right? I'm a little curious to ask you the next question. So you said you rode on the Diverge, spoke about it, and so but this is interesting. The bike that you moved on to just like a month or two before your race, there's been a lot of talking about this across the world.
Yep.
Right. So tell us more about that.
This is where this is like my job. This is what I do. This is what I enjoy doing, talking tech. But I'll tell you what. I'll move it over here so you can see it better. Okay, so this is a bike that, I mean, for those of you who follow, cycling blogs and reviews and all of that, it's just been mad reviews about this bike in the recent past. So the biggest thing, the biggest difference about this bike and what all the fuss is about is actually what's happening up here. And when I heard about this technology that we were launching, I was like, oh my God, I've got to ride that thing in Roubaix. Now, this is a road bike, and it looks very similar to that. The fundamental difference is what's happening over here. So we've had the Roubaix for many years. It was called there was different models. The last one is called the Roubaix SL4. This Roubaix is a completely new bike. Has nothing to do with the previous one. In fact, there's almost nothing on this bike that's the same. But what's happening over here is the really interesting part. So this is what's called a future shock. And as the name suggests, there is a shock in it. So it's a suspended bike, so to speak. So if you look over here, you can see some action happening over here. So this is called a future shock. There's a shock absorber in here. And the fundamental difference between something like this and a mountain bike is that we're suspending the rider here. So on a mountain bike that has shocks in the fork, you're suspending the bike. So what this does is it maintains the efficiency. So when you ride over bumps, like Roubaix, like the cobbles over there, or over any rough surfaces, the bike loses efficiency. It wants to slow down, which is normal. That's what speed breakers do. And when you have a shock absorber in the fork, it's affecting the bike's geometry, it's pushing it upwards, and it completely changes. So here, you're suspending the rider, which means that everything that's happening below in the main triangle of the bike, there is no change over there. All the changes are above the frame of the bicycle where the rider is. So there's compliance, which is this, happening over here, and there's something else happening in the back of the bike where, I don't know if you can tell, but this is actually a lot thicker or wider than it is here. So there's place inside here for the seat post to arc backwards. So even though it looks like a regular road bike, you can ride over super, super rough stuff and be comfortable because it's taking all the beating for you. And the biggest difference is you're not losing efficiency. So it's able to go really, really fast. I'd say another big difference is I have the old Roubaix as well. What is it that I want to say? Yeah, the biggest difference is that right now you have a bike where the way you sit on it is an endurance position for the rider. So you're really comfortable. I mean, comfort is the big word here with this bike. But the way the geometry of the bike is like a tarmac, for example. So that's a racing bike. So now the way the bike handles is like an all-out racing bike, like one of our top racing bikes, which is the tarmac. And the way you sit is like an endurance bike. So you're able to put in those longer hours and feel a lot fresher at the end of it. But this is, if you have a chance to try it, is something that you guys got to try because it changes the way that you experience riding over different kinds of terrain. So that's the big funda about the frame. I've forgotten what the question was.
The question was, is this on red?
Is it on red? Yeah.
Okay.
Should I put it away?
Yes, please.
You have no more questions about the bike?
Thank you for that.
What kind of bikes were other people riding?
Oh, that's a really good question. So I was actually trying to multitask during this event, look at what other people were riding, and there was a lot of Roubaix out there. This particular model. There was a lot of the older Roubaix for people who already had those. There was everything, all kinds of bikes. There was a lot of people on really the wrong bikes, and they were suffering. There was people on mountain bikes who were laughing because they felt nothing. But then what happens is, of course, you're not fast on the road sections. You're fast on the cobbles. But what I did see a lot of was people on cyclocross bikes with really fat tires. So yeah, a good mix of bikes. Of course, mostly road bikes. But I mean, a lot of people on this. And to answer your question, so I've never done Roubaix before. So I was asking them about how it was with this bike, and the difference was phenomenal. What I can't imagine is doing this event with another bike, because it was so brutal that I would want every kind of suspension and softening of the shocks that I can get.
Got it.
Yeah.
So say after this talk, most of us decide we want to ride the Roubaix next. We can't buy another Roubaix, at least for some time. What can we do on our current bike, or what did you do on this bike that could just adapt to a rough terrain like that?
Yeah, so I mean, there's a lot you can do, right? I mean, if you can ride this bike, do it. But I told you about the frame. But there's a lot of different things that come together on a bike to make it handle a certain way. The things that I changed on the bike is the biggest one is the wheels over here. And the reason for that is when you're looking for speed, the wheels will make a really big difference. So these are CLX 32 wheels, which is something that we brought out as brand new as well. So I was equally excited to get my hands on these wheels. But what happens is that it's a very wide wheel. So even though it's only 32 millimeters deep, it has the aero efficiency of a lot of competing models that I say about 50 millimeters deep. So it gives you a lot of aero advantage. and trust me, any advantage you can get, you take. But the big part of it, which relates to this event, was it's a very wide rim. So what happens is that your tire size effectively gets much larger. So over here, I'm running 28 millimeter. The tires are also called Roubaix. So these are Roubaix Pro tires, and on these rims, it comes to about 30 millimeters. So you're riding a 30 millimeter wide tire, and then if you figure out what the right pressure is with regards to the terrain and your weight, makes a huge difference. Because until now, all of handling rough surfaces has been through pneumatic tires on bicycles. Like if it's not got suspension, it's your tires that is really taking away the roughness. So tires are super important. So if you're riding any bike, even if you're riding in Bangalore and you want to suddenly start exploring different kinds of terrain, one of the simple things that you can do is to get the right kind of tires. I'd say go as wide as your frame will take, because we know that tires, you don't lose speed, even up to 28, 30 mm, you don't lose speed. That's a very old way of thinking. These things have all been tested. So that's pretty much your tires and your saddle. This will change your experience on the bike a lot.
So anything about the saddle itself?
Yeah, actually, so this is interesting because this was not part of my plan, right? I've been trying to plan as much as I could for this event and building up my equipment over time. So I was not planning to ride the saddle. This is the Phenom, and this is a saddle that both mountain bikes and road bikes are equipped with. I was planning to ride the Power saddle, which is an amazing saddle, which I have put on all of my other bikes. It works for mountain bikes, road bikes, triathlon, everything. It's a really phenomenal saddle, which I still swear by, and I was going to change it. But when I got this bike, I thought, let's just do some rides with the Phenom. And it's a slightly changed saddle now. It's about 3 millimeters wider. And I was so comfortable on this that I didn't change it, actually. I'm glad I hadn't bought another Power saddle to swap out yet. But this saddle is remarkably comfortable, so I didn't change it.
So you didn't have the need to change?
I did, and I really thought, like, let's do a few long days and see if you want to change. And I did not want to change it. And I mean, I pretty much swear by this also. I changed the handlebars to a narrower bar because I have narrow shoulders. For the rest, it's pretty much stock.
Okay, so that's about the bike. What would be the did you go get yourself a fit done on this bike just for this event?
No, so I've had fits done in the past when I was racing before. So I kind of know where I need to be in terms of position on the bike. For doing an event like Roubaix, you guys can kind of think about it like it's like a brevet in a sense. I would say because it's really long. You want to be comfortable. So when you're doing a brevet or you're doing any of this like long endurance kind of riding, one of the most important things is comfort. You don't want to be in a super aggressive position and then you're starting to hurt and you're out there for hours. So the truth is I have this set up as aggressive as possible. This is as low as the front will go. But because I said, I was saying that it's an endurance position for the rider, it's super comfortable. So I have it set up as aggressive as possible without changing to a negative stand. Yeah, I set it up like this and it really works for me. Okay. You see that the diverge is set up pretty aggressive.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's good. I mean, I also looks like that. No, but it's really set up for comfort. I always say comfort is the most important thing on the bike. People always want the bike to look aggressive and cool. That happens to look aggressive and cool, but there is still some stack and stuff. It's comfortable for me.
So you mentioned that this ride itself was similar to Roubaix, and you spoke about the bike. What can some of our Roubaix riders take advice from you about last-minute setups on the bike or previous day setups on the bike? Some changes they can make or
well, I'll tell you that the last-minute setup that I did for Roubaix, because I did a lot of reading about this, and I spoke to a lot of people who've done it before. So you all know that, especially on a carbon bike, you have settings, torque settings, where you shouldn't tighten beyond, right? This is a safety thing to make sure that you don't snap it. So I talked a little bit more than that everywhere. I'm not advising you to do this, but just a little bit I did, because especially I'll tell you what the changes were. This is so rough, the cobbles, like you cannot imagine it, that if anything is slightly loose, with all of the pounding, for 55 kilometers, it's going to come loose. Like your bar can go down and then you can have a crash. So all these things happen, which is why there's so many crashes. So this, I did not use a carbon bar, I used an alloy bar so that I could have this really tight. This, because you don't want your seat post to slide down, because you're sitting, you're not standing, you need to be sitting when you're riding the cobbles. And you don't want this to be sliding down, so I had, this is a different system, it tightens over here, so I had this extra tight. Bottle cages, oh, it's unbelievable. You see like stuff, if you don't want to ride the Paris-robaix, you can follow the event in a car and just pick up stuff and open a shop. There's like things flying everywhere. Bottle cages, extra tight. This works with it's not a quick release, it's a through axle, so I had those nice and tight. So everything that I could tighten, the hood's super important. So I went in here and tightened these some more. So I actually tightened everything a little bit extra. Okay, beyond that, like I had saddlebag, because you need to carry a lot of spares. This won't stay. So how it is now with the Velcro, this will not stay. So I had a rope, a string, actually a shoelace, which I tied around. And I put in between the Velcro and tied it so that this wouldn't come off. Because even in my training rides here, I lost saddlebag, like the Velcro won't hold. And there's no pump, etc. on the bike. This was in pockets. And then it's also how you put stuff in your pockets that matters. Because what can come loose will come loose, from your pump to your bottles to your teeth. Stuff falls out. It's like, it's insane.
Okay. So that was up to your preparation on the bike, training, nutrition, right? Now let's get into the day of the event itself. Give us a brief about what was the day of the event, like just the morning until you hit the start line.
Yeah, so like, I'm sure everybody has done events, and it doesn't matter if it's a huge event or if it's a small event, whatever, there's always butterflies, right, the night before. So I had like, I had butterflies, then I had bumblebees, then I had hummingbirds, then I had like crows. It was crazy because, such a build up, and one of the things that I did is I shared so much on Facebook, and on Instagram, because I really wanted to share this experience. So it was very public for me. I felt like I was, everybody was watching also. So I was like, oh man, I better finish this thing now, that I've like spoken so much about it. So, of course, a lot of bumblebees and butterflies. And then you end up going to bed late because there's no way you can avoid it. Actually, really funny. The night before, it was really hard to get food in Roubaix, because suddenly you have like, Roubaix is, if you're not going there for Paris-robaix, don't go there. This is like a small industrial town. It's pretty rough. There's no real reason to go there unless you want to get bumped or something like that. It's a very interesting place. And suddenly you've got like thousands of people there. People who come to watch the race, people who come to do the challenge, pro teams, this, that, thousands of people. So it's very hard to get food and a reservation in the restaurant. So I had to sit outside in the freezing cold because it was full inside, and I got a meal, so that was one adventure. But the morning of the event, you have to catch a bus at 5 o'clock, which means you've got to leave your hotel on your bike at say 4:30 in the dark. And in the cold, like 0 degrees. So that was an adventure. And the whole race, you go to this place which is a huge parking lot, which has been rented out for the Paris-robaix challenge. And you've got, it's a sight when you arrive, because there are rows A, B, C, D, E, F, G, up to H. So that's how many rows you have. Each one of those rows, this is like in a metro parking lot, if you have to imagine. Each one of those rows has these huge European trucks, the massive long-haul trucks with 2 huge trailers. So each row has one of those, and in front of that, 3 buses, like the big Volvo buses. So now that's like that many trucks with that many buses, and this is the people that need to go to the start line. So you give your bike and they have to make sure that your bike goes into a truck and that you are going in the bus that matches, and there's like a lot of logistics, and it's all happening at 0 degrees. So it's pretty awesome. So you get into your buses and then you get driven for about an hour to the start line. Zero visibility. Like, I don't know how the bus driver, I was sitting in the front row and I don't know how the bus driver saw my window, but I could see like, like that far. So I would just leave. Too much stress. But yeah, super exciting to be at that scale of event with so many people, and they've all got that many butterflies, so you can imagine.
Okay, just a rewind, right? I wanted to ask you about, tell us about this, the Paris-robaix challenge itself. What is the format? How does one register to this?
Okay, so just to be clear, guys, I did not do the Paris-robaix Pro race, where Tom Bowman was and Peter Sagan was. Okay, having said that, I just want you to know that I finished before them. Just as a, no, this is a different thing, right? So you have the Paris-robaix challenge, which is open to like normal human beings like us, and then you have the Pro race, which is the day after. So you're riding the same course, which is the exciting thing, and it's all set up, all the barricades are there. And it's the same course, but it's shorter. They do 225 kilometers, I think, and human beings do 175. So I finished one day before them. I'm just saying, I finished a day before Sagan, right? But I mean, the whole idea about the Paris-robaix challenge, and so there are a lot of events like this, where this is for folks like us, amateurs, enthusiasts, whatever, to experience what it is that the pro riders are doing. And what's really nice about doing an event like this is it is the day before, so the setup is there. Because you can always go and ride a course of the Tour de France, but it's just going to be like a normal day in France. Whereas here it is set up, the fans are there. It's crazy, the fans are there a day before, right? They're like, the caravans are appearing, people are camping out on the side of the road. They're already drunk the day before, so they're cheering you. They're like, I don't know if they think that you're one of the pros or not, but so the experience is amazing. So it's not just doing the course, but it's doing the course with all of that jazz. Like, the road is not close to traffic, but having said that, a lot of what you're riding is the cobbles, 55 Ks, so there's no traffic there anyway, other than tractors. Oh my God! So there are tractors sometimes on the cobbles when you're on the cobbles, and that is like something else. Because like you're trying to keep yourself alive, negotiating this madness, and then there's like a guy with his plowing equipment and all that. So that's a bit of a...
Okay, so when does the registration open for this?
I'm not sure, I think like months before. Okay, maybe I'll draw another parallel. So everybody knows TFN, right? So Puram, have you heard of it? Nice, it's a Roubaix. So the nice thing about what I really like about an event like TFN is that as opposed to a mass start race where it's all like from the gun, the moment the gun goes, it's like go, go, go. At TFN, you have like, transport sections. You need to get from here to there, you ride with different people, you chat, and then you have your competitive sections, right? Where, then that's when the stress comes and you go really hard. So I like it a lot because it's a mix of camaraderie, regular cycling, looking at the countryside, and riding super hard. Now, the Paris-robaix challenge is like that because the sections between the cobbles, they're not really challenging. It's flat and it's on super nice roads. So the timed parts are actually the cobbles. So the timing that happens with the timing chip is the cobble section. So you can go easy in between the cobbles, and trust me, what you're trying to do is recover actually until you hit the next cobble section, and then you go super hard. Actually, you have to go super hard. You cannot go easy on the cobbles. So it's a very different format of racing. So you're doing 175 Ks, you're doing 55 Ks of cobbles, but it's like recovery and then madness and then recovery and madness, and this happens 29 times. There's 29 cobble sections, and they vary between maybe 1 kilometer to about 4 kilometers, the longest ones.
Okay, so more of what that may actually come to the section, right? Okay, so Vivek was mentioning about how, so this is how I think the trucks look.
Yeah, that's the morning of. That's just one view. Imagine rows of trucks like this and tons of people in cycling kit.
Okay, so talking about kit, right? Let's go into.
Those are not my legs.
So then let's go into what was your equipment, or in terms of the kit itself that you're wearing for the day of the event. And
Okay.
by the way, everybody just knows how much you like to match this and this to your socks and
Yeah.
all of that. So tell us more about that fashion portion of it.
Okay, so I'll be really honest here. If I do a race or an event, I'm a lot more concerned about looking good than winning. This is my interest in racing. Okay, I'll be stressed out the night before about what socks am I going to wear that either matches or doesn't match my kit. You know, you either have to match or mismatch. So this is always a bit of comedy. So I'm going to pull out something because this was where most of my stress was. Now, actually, I'll tell you, the funny thing is, it's funny now, but what was particularly challenging building up to this event is if it rains, for those of you who've watched Paris-robaix, if it rains, you're dead. Like, you will crash. People will die. It is just horrible, right? You may break your bike because you're riding on stones that are now wet and that are now covered with slush. And you can't see where you're going because there's slush in your face. So you have to be prepared for that, because the north of France is really famous for, well, like a lot of the north of Europe, for the weather changing. Like in a day, one day it's this and another day it's something else. So even in the same day, it drastically changes. So I was watching weather forecasts for the last 10 days, every day checking what's the weather going to be. And then it was like, oh, suddenly it's going to be sunny and like 20 degrees. And I'm like, yes. And then it changes during the week. So it's very stressful. But I knew it could be anything. So equipment is really, really important when you're planning for an event. You've got to be ready for anything. So over the months, I was buying all the different kinds of clothing that I would need, depending on what it's going to be. So when I packed my bag to go to Roubaix, I packed for all the different kinds of weather. And my last weather check, I was like, okay, this is what I'm going to wear on the day. So this is really going to be a bit comedic here. I think even Suraj doesn't know that I hit things behind the TV. Okay. Hello. Hello guys. This is my pocket, okay? Suraj, just hold this for a second. Quite a lot of weight there. No? Yeah. Hold this and okay. So this is really heavy, folks. Just so you know. So this was me at Paris-robaix. This is what I finally decided to wear. I need your help here. Okay. So what was super tricky about this event was that finally I knew it's going to be hot when the race finishes. Now, we're not the pro race, so we don't start at some comfortable time like 10 or 11 in the morning. We start at like 5 a.m. or we have to leave the hotel at 4:30. So we're talking 0 degrees, 0 to 3 degrees, and you got to ride from then on. So I knew that we're going to be starting in the cold and ending in the heat, like 20 something degrees. So what do you wear? Super tricky, right? So, do you guys, you all have heard of SKCT, the racing team? So there are, sorry, but you got to stay like this for a little while. So what I really enjoyed with the team is, I would always make jokes about the guys on the team that I didn't know whether they ride better or whether they ride better. So I'll come to something which is quite funny, but I don't know if all of you know Sarvesh, but Sarvesh and NJ, Naveen John, both of these guys are amazing bloggers. They can recount an event and reading it is like you were at the event and there's always a lot of comedy in it. Sarvesh is particularly funny. So I'm thinking of Sarvesh when I tell you the story because he just wrote a blog about a race in Spain and how he was struggling to manage his food in his pockets and what goes in which pocket. I really had that problem. So I'm going to take off layers for you guys, okay? This is a windbreaker. All of this is, by the way, kind of really super important equipment for you to have if you're going to do. So it's not really waterproof, but yes, you would use it in the rain. It's half-sleeved, which is very different from wearing a full raincoat. It breathes in the back, which really helps. So this is particularly meant for cycling. So this is a windbreaker, right? So we're at 3 degrees right now in the morning, and we're working our way. So this comes off. Okay, next layer. This lifesaver. This is fleece. Amazing when it's cold. Like you wear fleece, you will survive. You wear this in the summer, you will die. So if you're going to go past like say 10 degrees and you're wearing fleece, it's a nightmare. So anyway, I think because of this, I'm thinking that there's other pieces of clothing that are actually not here. Okay. Arm warmers. I am very bad with the cold, so I needed under my full sleeve fleece. You know, when you get rid of that, it's still cold, so I had arm warmers. And this was the setup. And inside here, base layer, without which you cannot survive. But then at some point, it's also getting very hot for arm warmers, so we'll take this off. Now down here, this is again fleece, full leg warmers, without which I would have died. Now here's the funny thing. So these are like hardcore booty covers in case it rained. So this is for cold and rain. But in the end, I think I went with these, which are over here. Well, these are my socks. Okay, socks very important. Very nice, by the way, guys. Red socks. These are very warm socks also. They both don't match, which is why they match. This is why they're set. But here's the funny thing. What do you do with all of this stuff? So wait, on top of that, winter gloves. You'll die riding in the cold if you don't have, and this is again fleece. You cannot ride in the cold without these. So I had to wear these winter gloves. And then the worst piece of clothing, right? I won't tell you why it's the worst. I'll show you. What the hell, right? It's the worst. Nobody likes to wear this. It's like a punishment. It is so unclassy. So now, all of this stuff, if you're a pro in the pro race, throw it. Not pro. Cannot throw. So what do you do with this? I mean, guys, seriously, look at this. You can throw now. You can throw, but so now this. Okay, thanks, Suraj. I will say bye and go back into hiding behind the TV. But now, where do you put all this stuff, right? Okay, you got to put it in your pockets. You got to fold stuff really tight and put it in your pockets. This is already in my pockets. Okay, pump, spare tire. There was also a spare chain, gels, which is horrible. Like this, everything that we talked about. At the end, I had to use gels because you got to carry and this is small and it works. But I felt like shit using so many gels. It was really horrible. And these are not the bars that I used. I was using organic bars. So here's the challenge. All the food you need. I had 6 pockets because I had my jersey with 3 pockets. And then I had my other fleece with another 3 pockets. So I had 6 pockets. But then I had to plan the nutrition such that I start to empty pockets because the clothes have to come off and they have to go in the pockets. So you can imagine the stress level. So I had planned out all of the food in the correct order of pockets. And then you start eating that and then you make room and you start taking off the layers and you start filling it up. I think Vicky looked at one of my pictures and said, "What's on your back?" Because it looked like a backpack. Anyway, it was all of this. So a lot of planning because you need to know what you're going to eat first. So you put that in the right pockets. And this is stuff that you learn the more events you do, the more races you do. You know, right side is this, left side is that. Oh, then there was a bus ride. So I had to take everything out of my pockets to sit in the bus. And then I had to remember and put it back. It was comedy. Anyway.
Okay. So you didn't keep it that way.
It is. This is why the stress. And just imagine all of the different clothes that I was, if it was wet weather, I had another kit that's yellow. So I'm going to match these socks, dude. So I had to carry like, and I also had different shoe covers depending on the sock with the. This is harder than winning races, by the way. Winning races is easy. This is hard.
How many riders were there in total?
Okay, about 6,000. So you don't all start at the same time. So this is why they have all of these buses and they plan it out. So there's a timing system. It's as sophisticated as BBCH. They've got their timing sorted. So they start in waves.
Men and women.
Men and women. And you know, men, women, all ages, all sizes. It's amazing. So not everybody finishes, but a lot of people finish. And I would say that, you know, this is like triathlon. where everybody who finishes feels like a winner, which is why I really like these kind of events. So you can have a good time, bad time, doesn't matter. You finish it, you get a medal, you feel like a winner. It's like a brevet in that sense, you know. So at the finish line, you see all of these people and they've all got their medals, and man, I'm looking at people who are maybe in their 70s or I don't know what, you know. Like, I don't know how many hours, but you did it, like, wow.
Got to come back, man.
Huh?
Got to go back and follow.
I'll go back when I'm 70.
What is the finish line?
So all in all, I think I was about 7.5 hours. But basically, like I said, since the timed sections are the cobbles, you have all of these. Okay, I didn't know this. There are 3 food stops on the way. Having said that, I don't like to suddenly eat somebody else's food. Like I've planned my nutrition, I want to eat what I've carried. So when you get to the food stops, you stop. You need to do your hydration, fill your bottles. So you also spend a lot of time kind of off the bike there. I was riding with someone else, so you're waiting for them, this and that. So all in all, about 7.5 hours or something like that.
7.5 hours is only the competitive segment.
No, the whole thing, the whole thing. Yeah. Yes.
So we'll come to the velodrome. But before we hit the velodrome itself, we got to hit the cobbles.
Oh boy.
One second, before we go on, you got a standing based on the timing or?
No, you know, you can. I'm not even sure how they do that. I didn't even bother checking, man. Like 6,000 people, I finished it. I'm good. But I don't even think they give it to you like that. It's just your times. So it's not.
I was just curious to know why they were timing if it is not.
Oh, because I think it's really like.
You finish the
No, I think it's like everybody who comes there, you know, it's like last year's time or compared to the pros. So for example, if you do the Arenberg, and then you'll see the pros, they did it in this much time. How much time did you do it in? So it's more like I said, I don't know how it works because I've never really done the brevets here. But is it like that? Like this person finished first, second, third, or it's like I finished in this much time? It's like that. It's more like that.
Will they give a transponder?
Yeah.
Was it? I mean, random question because the question started going. Was it that terrifying?
Oh, we'll get there. Yeah.
We'll get there, exactly. So this is like. Yeah.
Will it be easier to put it on a frame bag or something?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So the reason for not doing that is because it would definitely be more comfortable to put it in the frame bag, but at the end of the first cobble section, you won't know where your frame bag is. Seriously.
Okay.
It's not possible.
Okay, so moving on. So talking about the first cobble, it's like an experience. You know it's coming, and you're looking at every single corner to see, okay, is it coming now? Is it coming, later? So what was it like when the first cobble actually arrived, and did you stop? Touch the. Save me, please.
No, so I'll tell you, like, I've been trying to simulate the cobbles over here as much as I could, and NJ told me about it because he'd written them. Having said that, the Roubaix cobbles are the worst ones ever. They're like a notch worse than any other cobbles in Flanders and stuff like that. But he told me, like, the sound, you think your bike is going to explode, right? Man, that is the first thing. Like, you get on these cobbles and suddenly you can't see, okay? It's like this, like you're really going like that. And the sound of your bike is like, and that's your bike. And now there's everyone's bike. And it is so loud, like you really think the whole thing is going to explode. So it's shock, actually it's shock. When you hit the first, if you haven't done it before, when you hit that first, and the first one is pretty rough. I can't remember now, it's all like jumbled. But the first one is rough, and you're like, how the hell do I handle the bike? Bike handling is a huge part of this. Where do I ride? Of course, you've read every blog that there is to read about where do you ride, how do you ride, watched every video. But it's a shock to your system because you just have no idea that it's going to be that rough. Now, to ride cobbles, you need to ride hard, which is why you need a lot of power. So a lot of my training to do the Paris-robaix challenge was really in building up power because you're riding at a low cadence and you're riding, so you're turning at around like between 50 and 70 RPM. It's like climbing Nandi, let's say. And you've got to put all the power that you have. You cannot ride in an easy gear because you'll be like bouncing all over the place and then you're off the road before you know it. You've got to be going hard on the big chain and riding power. So these are like, it's like intervals, doing intervals, because your riding time on the cobble section is going to be between 3 and 8 minutes or whatever, depending on your riding ability. So for those 3 to 8 minutes, you are riding at your max power. If it's 300 watts, it's 300. If it's 400 watts, it's 400. And so all you're doing is on that first cobble section, just going as hard as you can. By the way, everyone's driven over speed breakers, right? Those little ones. If you take your foot off the gas, your car's going to stop. So riding the cobbles is like that. If you let go of the power, the bike is just going to stop, because this is speed breakers. So you have to maintain that power and you have to maintain the speed. The faster you go over it, the easier it is to ride. If you go slow, God help you. And to build up speed is really, really hard. So you want to come in fast and carry that momentum through.
I mean, it's going to be so hard to minus gear.
That's another great question. So like, you can change gears if you get your hand to the thing first of all, because the best place is to be up here. This is really stressful. So you're up here and then you're like, I need to change gears. Okay, maybe now's a good time. And then you get there and then you get there. And then you can change gears, and of course. But if you lose the speed, then it's hard to build it back up. So there's a lot of challenges actually, because there's a lot of people. So typically a cobble section, you have the sights.
You can show it here.
Actually, there's another one. There's another picture. When we come to that, I'll explain it. It's much easier with a picture. This is a picture taken in, this is the picture of my life now. This is the famous Roubaix forest. This is coming to the end of it. I know I look like I'm smiling, I'm crying. I'm like really just want to go home right now. Because this is almost the last tough one. It's so long and it's so painful. I can't describe the pain. So in the first cobble section, you don't have that much pain. It's pain, but it's okay, and it builds up.
Okay. So Pratul actually mentioned about the forest of Roubaix, and you also mentioned it, but there are like 29 cobble sections.
29.
And not every cobble section is rated the same.
Yeah, they're not.
So tell us more about this rating, about the length. What is it?
So you get a top tube sticker for your bike, and all of the cobble sections are there, so you know the distance where it's going to start. And then they have a number of stars. So 5 stars is like the worst, and 2 stars is okay. And okay is already really bad, worse than anything you'll find over here. So there are about 4 or 5 that are really nasty, and you just want to get those out of the way. The problem is that by the time you get here, you see your hands hurt. Actually, yesterday we were driving somewhere and my hands were really, like holding the steering wheel, they started to hurt again from then. The pounding is so bad that actually they say the way you need to ride cobbles is to not hold your bars too tight and leave it loose. It's very hard to do that and control the bike. So I had to hold them really tight because that's how it would hurt the least. But now, oh God, I don't know if you guys can see this, but this is what you're riding on as fast as you can. It's so painful. But when you hold something tight for 3 to 8 minutes, the funny thing is, if you want to open your hand, you can't. It's locked shut. So at the end of the cobble sections, I couldn't take my hand off the bar. So I had to really pull for it to release. This is like, again, it's comic, right? When my hand's like this, other people are stopping, okay? So you need to get to your brakes. Then I was doing this, or I was doing this to open my hand. Once you open it, it works again. To apply the brakes. Tension, man, I can't tell you. But that's kind of how bad it is. And by the end of it, your hands are just like on fire. Another German guy I was riding with, halfway through the race, he was like, dude, I don't want to take off my gloves and see what's happening underneath because I know I have no skin left. So many people lose all the skin on their hands. Like there are these pictures if you go on Insta or whatever and you do a search, there's just no skin, man. Everything's gone, like that thick, you know, it's just gone. So if I had the right gloves and...
Okay, so basically right equipment.
You need the right equipment, yeah, always.
Okay. And okay, so you've trained and all that, but this doesn't look like the training that you've done, like you've ridden on the road, is sufficient. So what else can one do over here, which will prepare them, especially for this?
Nothing.
Okay.
Really nothing. You got to get strong. You got to build up your strength so you can ride the cobbles fast, and you got to build up your endurance so that you actually survive the whole thing. But
so what about something like that?
Okay, yes, sorry. Yeah, great question. So I happen to love mountain biking as well, and cross country type of mountain biking. So riding the trails. So this comes to skill, which is kind of different from strength. You need a lot of skill to stay upright on the cobbles. So this is a great picture here. I'm not in this picture. I don't know the angle. Tom is there though. But so if you look here, this is the edge of the road, and you can see that what happens on the edge of where the cobbles are is sometimes you have a gutter or sometimes you have grass, and that's the smoothest place you can ride. It's very funny because I went from looking for the roughest places to ride here, and when I was there, I was like, God, give me the smoothest thing and I'll take it, right? So that's the smoothest section. But the problem is that when you go to the edge of the road, you don't know what's going to happen because there are stones there, there's grass, there are holes, there are loose cobbles. So your chance of falling and having a puncture are the highest over there, but the pain is the least. So it's very risky, but it's the least painful. To go from the cobbles to there is super tricky because you're going over other stones that have been laid like longitudinally. So you need a lot of skill. So doing a lot of mountain biking, that really helps in bike handling. What you have to do when you ride the cobbles is you got to switch off. It's very scary. Like you're always thinking, I'm going to fall, I'm going to crash. The only way to ride it is to not think about that and just ride really hard and stay kind of calm and not just look at all of the details because then you'll crash. So finding your place on a cobble section is important. Overtaking is very difficult because everybody's in the smoothest. The moment you come out to pass someone, you need twice as much power because it's rougher there. So it's just all in all difficult. You pull out to pass someone and then you're not able to pass. You don't have the power. So this is why a lot of people crash as well, getting on and off the edges.
Okay, so does any of this lead to mechanicals on bikes, like puncture, chain coming off? Did you experience anything like that?
So, I mean, it's amazing. The entire course of this event, the entire course after the first 10 kilometers, which is road, is peppered with people on the side of the road, fixing flats, fixing punctures, waiting for the ambulance, looking for, their feet, whatever. It's like the whole distance you just see this happening. I was really fortunate. I had no mechanicals, no flats, nothing. And I mean, I'll attribute it to these tires, a combination of good tires and the right pressure. Because you can have great tires with the wrong pressure and you're going to go flat. So I spent a lot of time trying to figure this out, and we have no flats. Like, super happy. I had like 3 spare tubes, I don't know how many canisters, pump, I was ready. Spare chain.
Okay, so talking about the day of the event itself, while you were in France for the last 2 weeks, what was your build-up in terms of nutrition and hydration? This will be something that most of us who race in Bangalore and would do our Roubaix in Bangalore could adopt in terms of like a 200-kilometer Krishnagiri just concluded yesterday.
Yeah.
So what can somebody do like that? A build-up of hydration and nutrition.
So for yesterday's 200 km Krishnagiri, what you ate day before yesterday, that matters, but it's not there. It's really how you eat in the 10 days or the month or whatever, even the 2 months leading up to that. The longer you eat healthy and the right thing, the easier it is at the end. So what I was saving for now was, at the end of this race, or event, or however you want to call it, right? The amazing thing, which I absolutely did not expect, was that I was battered and wanted to go and sleep in the hotel, but I was almost ready to go again. I expected to be like cramped and dead and everything, but I completely attribute that to nutrition and hydration. Like NJ would also always remind me with every workout, stay on top of your hydration, stay on top of your nutrition. So eating right for a long time before your event, the days or the weeks is super important, and you can almost never hydrate enough. So just constantly drinking, which is very hard in the cold, you don't get so thirsty so fast. So just make sure over here you really need to hydrate. You need to hydrate even more when it's hot. So staying on top of nutrition and hydration really allows your engine to work. Otherwise, your engine starts to have problems. So I would say don't leave it as a last minute. What's my pasta dinner before race day going to be? That's important, but it's just a small part of it. And in France, all of the food that we were buying and preparing, it just made it really easy for me. Okay. Like the next day, I was ready to do it again.
Can I just add one thing? Probably 2 days before the race, you started drinking. So my tri coach had told me that a few days before the race, you should, to prevent cramping, you should have not just water, with water with rock salt or Himalayan pink salt and lime.
Yeah.
Like, were you adding jaggery to that? Like a,
Yeah, like a nice
Pani
mixed
much.
salts, sugars.
Yeah, so you would drink that because you always
The whole day.
And did you cramp?
So actually, I'm famous for cramping. Like you say hello and I will cramp. Okay. This event I didn't cramp, which is nuts. Like at one point it started to come somewhere, so I just took it easy for a bit and then it went, and I didn't cramp. So that's like a big part of it, like getting the hydration right in the days leading up to it. So don't leave that for event day and just the day before. Like your last 2 weeks, just think about that. Like you need to be hydrating all the time and eating the right stuff.
Yeah, so and even coconut water works really well in
Yeah.
India. So you could have like 4 or 5 coconut waters a day and then have a couple of these nimbu panis. Yeah.
That, by the way, is shit in France. You don't find guys with bicycles and a lot of coconuts. So you have to take your coconuts when you go. Just saying.
Or it was like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so coming to the finish of your challenge, so you finished at the Roubaix velodrome.
Finish in the velodrome.
Finished at the velodrome. It's like very
It's like a life moment.
Yeah. So tell us more about this over here, which is the finish line itself, and that cobblestone on the.
So, what are you guys thinking? Cheap buggers, they give you a stone at the end. I also got a medal, which is very nice and polished and all. So you get, it's famous, right? The winner of Paris-robaix gets an actual cobble. The actual cobble is like this big. I don't know how they lift it at the end of the race. It's huge, it weighs a ton. For other people, you get a smaller one, which is like this big and already weighs a lot. But you know, that's just a nice thing you take home. But finishing in the velodrome, I mean, that's really a dream, and it's really nice because the whole velodrome is set up for the race, which is happening the next day. So many families are there supporting, you know, their wives, husbands, dads, whatever. So there's people, like when you enter the velodrome, there are crowds there. Something really funny that the organizers do, which is awesome, maybe something for BBCH to take note. You come into the velodrome, it's like this moment, and then you take that turn and suddenly you're on the track, and there's like thousands of people cheering, right? But they're not there. They've got this PA system. So it's like through the loudspeaker. So you've got the families that are there that are cheering, and then you've got this big sound. So you know this is your moment, and like thousands of people are cheering. That's really funny. But it was actually really nice. So I've been cycling my whole life, right? I have never ridden in a velodrome, ever before. So I came onto the first turn, and the turn is like this. I was like, shit, now I'm going to crash. It's really sketchy. Like, you need to get used to how to ride in a velodrome. So I was like up there, you know, and then I was like, I can't do this, I can't do this, I can't do this. I'm going down. I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to crash now. So then I went to the bottom, which is the blue strip. I know that if any of my friends who I work with are watching this, they're laughing because they all do track cycling. Then I got onto the blue bit and I'm like, I'm taking the turn over here. You can't see it here, but. So that was really funny because I was stressed out then, but anyway, you end on a straight, so I was smiling for that. But it is an awesome experience. And then you come back the next day for the race.
So talking about the following day's race, main difference is, of course, you have your trained athletes who are riding teams, right? And then you have your challenge itself. Tell us a little bit more about the difference.
So there's not enough that I can say about the difference. What happens with all of us over here is that we all think we're super pro and all of that, but my God, when you actually get up close and see what the pro tour level of racing is just like a different species, you know, it's crazy. Like someone like me taking whatever 7+ hours to finish an event like this, which I was able to do because I also took some cushy breaks in between here and there, you know. And then these guys, so that was like 175, 172 kilometers, whatever it was. Those guys are doing 225. I can't remember what the finishing time was. 6 and change. They were averaging 44 point something. This was the fastest ever Roubaix. Average speed of 44 point something. Those guys are riding the cobbles at like 40+ kilometers an hour. Like I was really struggling sometimes to maintain 25. I don't know, I'm guessing 25 because you cannot read your Garmin. Your Garmin, if you look at it, it's like, screw you, that's what it says. You want to go home, okay? But you don't know, you cannot read anything. The reason that I wanted to do this also was because I wanted to see, you know, Tom Bonen's last race. I wanted to be there for like, you know, this epic race. But when you watch a race like Paris-robaix, after having done the course the day before, when you're watching it on TV, you know, you've been through all of those sections and you see how they're riding it and you remember how you rode it. It's amazing. It kind of puts everything in perspective. You have so much more respect, you know. So on the last day, on race day, you go back to the velodrome and you can go anywhere. You can go to Roubaix and you can be one of these people over here, or you can. For me, it made sense to go to the velodrome because I had to train to catch. But the energy in there, you know, it's like going to a cricket match over here. It's amazing. And then for all of us who love cycling, to be in a stadium with or velodrome with so many people crazy about cycling, the energy is insane. So there's a massive screen, and you're watching the race there until they get there. The interesting thing is, everybody or almost everybody who's there are from Belgium. So they've all come, and they are only there for Tom Boonen for the most part. Okay. And every time Tom Boonen comes on the screen, everybody's like screaming and standing. There was this woman who was next to me with her son-in-law. She was going into like, you know, such a fan, like Michael Jackson concert types, you know. And as they were getting closer and closer to the velodrome, people were going more and more nuts every time. So I went out towards the end before they came into the velodrome to the last cobble section to see them. So I enjoyed the race from there. Then I went to watch it there, where they enter. So they're coming on the cobbles and then they turn into the velodrome. The amazing thing is the circus that happens before the riders come in. You've got all of the police, the commissaires, the press, and all of these people then come into the front of the race, and they need to come in and clear out of the way before the leading people in the race. The speed at which they're traveling, you cannot imagine. It's like watching, you know, big group rally from the 80s. Like there's crowds and there's vehicles moving so fast. I remember there was a bump. Cars were flying. The bikes were flying. The cameramen on the back are flying, right? And then they're taking a turn. So the turn is like, you know, where the cars are parked there, they're doing 100 over here. And then they're like on the brakes and they make the turn. So it's like very adrenaline's going up. And then when you see these guys coming in, right, the speed at which they're traveling on the cobbles, it's mind-blowing. Like, to see these guys, and only big guys do Paris-robaix. Like for me, I'm too small to do an event like that. It's too light. You know, you need to be heavy and strong and big, which is why you don't see Contador, you don't see all these smaller climber guys in these races. They're all big, beefy guys. You need the weight and you need the power. So you're seeing all of these riders that are massive. You know, like Tom Boonen is a huge guy, and you see them coming in on their bikes, and it's just like you feel so small. I mean, I'll tell you this: on the cobble sections, when I was going as hard as I could go, maybe doing 30 kilometers an hour sometimes, I just heard like this coming, and then you have these big, you know, like semi-pro or pro riders who are doing it for fun or for training. Man, they go past you like you're standing still. They're just so big and so strong. If you're light, you just bounce all over the place. It's horrible. So I was keeping my bottles full to get as much weight as I could get. But but when you see these guys, it's like another breed, man. It's you get respect, you know.
Okay, so the next question is basically a couple of years back, your team went to Thailand to do the Tour of Friendship,
yeah.
And then what follows is a lot of the riders from here want to go and try something like Tour of Friendship. So you tried this now.
Yeah.
What does it involve, like for someone or a bunch of people to go there? What will it involve?
That was me a few years ago. So I mean, you know what? It involves buying an air ticket and registering before registration closes. Anybody can do it. I really think this, you know, for those of you who followed my blog, it's like, oh wow, it sounds amazing, and maybe sometimes you might read it and think like, shit, I could never do that. But the truth is, you can definitely do that. Everybody can do this. It just takes the right training. Like everybody can do a brevet, right, with the right amount of training. This is the same. It's just going to hurt a lot, but you'll be so happy that you did it. And I really believe anybody can do it. I'm sure that we're going to see people from India start going and doing these, like how people have gone to do Paris-robaix and all of that. I mean, different kind of event, one painful day. But anybody can do it and everybody should do it, is what I have to say. What's involved is just, you know, planning it out, buying your air ticket, getting your registration, and all the usual logistics, you know, hotels and all of that, none of which is rocket science. The training everybody can do. So, I mean, I'm sure that there's people who are here or people who are watching who are going to go and do this thing. Really, everybody can do it. And you know, this is an event that you go to finish. You know, you don't I didn't set myself a target time. I just want to finish it. Whatever time it takes, you know. So everyone can do it, and it's really something worth doing because you get the whole drama around it, right? You get the fans, you get this, you get that, thousands of people riding. I mean, do it, guys. I mean, there's all of these races, right? Spring Classics, you can do Flanders, you can do Roubaix. The Tour de France has something called l'Étape, which is basically, it's in the mountains. It's a crazy mountain stage. So all of these are like sportives, basically, which are timed events. You do it in your own time. You get a bunch of friends together, like the Spectrum guys go to Italy, you know, they've done that a couple of times already. It's very different from Tour of Friendship. Like where the guys have gone now, that is like balls to the wall racing. That is like the gun starts and it's fast all the way. It's a different experience. This is, for me, I've done the Tour of Friendship. This was harder in a sense for me because of how painful it is. But I really enjoy it more because it's a solo, you're doing this with yourself, you know. Just to give you an example, I knew that this is something I wanted to do by myself. You can't do it with someone else. Riding the cobbles is like riding in the mountains. You can ride till Kalati with your friend. The moment Kalati starts, well, everybody gets separated by their ability. So I was riding with a German friend initially, who's way stronger than me, and I was struggling to hold his wheel leading up to the first cobble section. And then I was like, shit, I shouldn't try and follow him. It's going to screw up my whole plan. We hit the cobble section, I was gone. Because he doesn't mountain bike and he's just used to riding on smooth roads. So the skill is, you know, everything you get separated because of your skill levels or this is like almost a solo event. Go with a whole bunch of friends, but you know, you end up doing it by yourself. You can regroup after the cobbles and whatever. You see a lot of that happen. Everybody should do it. It's something to remember.
So the next bit is I'm gonna leave the questions to you folks over here. You can ask Vivek what the question that you wanted to ask, you know, from the moment we started this conversation. So it's over to you folks now.
So tire pressure you speak.
So this is funny. I spent months thinking about the tire pressure and trying to fine tune this over here. So in general over here, even on the road and riding rough stuff, with this size of tire and this size of rim, so to be exact, this is a 28 millimeter tire. I run about 80, 85. 80 in front, 85 in the back, and that's okay. If I know that there's not going to be any sharp hits, I might even go a little bit less. And if I know that the roads are going to be better, well, I might go to like 85, 90. So I was trying to prepare what is going to be my tire pressure on the day. So I did not carry a floor pump because I didn't have room. I had to leave everything in my backpack because I had to ride for the railway station, blah, blah, blah. So on the morning of the event, I was looking for a floor pump and I found these guys eventually who were doing tech support, like what's Startline support. And these were two Belgian guys, and I went to talk to them, and they were like, "Oh, the new Roubaix," and you know, they started asking me questions, and I was like, "Guys, I need your pump." So I don't know why I did this. I was like, "Guys, what tire pressure do you recommend?" Because these are guys who are racing on cobbles all the time. So they started giving me gyan in bar. So I'm like, "Shit, I don't know bars. I know PSI." So now I'm suddenly really confused. So the guy's like, "I do 5 and 5.5 bar." What the hell is that, you know? And then we start talking about their weight. So all of my months of preparation, basically I got fully confused in the end. So in the end, I went like this. I was like, okay, he weighs this, he says that, I'll do 5 and 5.5 bar. So whatever that is in PSI is what I ran on that day. I was just like, let's just do it. These guys know. But yeah, otherwise I run about, I weigh like anything between 65 to 67 kgs. So I run that much pressure. Running low pressure is great, it gives you so much comfort. And you're not necessarily going to go flat. If you run good tires, run low pressure, it's like you're on a new bike.
Okay, so that was the one question, that's it.
Is there any part of your equipment you think you could have done better?
Wow. Oh, here's another funny one. I usually don't use camelback bottles. I use specialized bottles, but for this event, I actually combined these rib cage cages but these are my oldest cages that I have from 2012 with these bottles because that's the right pressure. This one in a new rib cage is quite hard to remove, and I knew that cold hands and all that's going to be difficult. So I had tuned this, like old rib cages with the Camelback bottle was exactly, I could get it in, put it back. Anything I could have done better? Yes! Good question. It's very famous that to ride cobbles, you should double wrap your barte. And my friend who done it the year before, he's like, dude, double wrap, right? But he did it on a tarmac and he didn't have the future shock. So I was like, you know what? I got the future shock. Do I need to double wrap? Not really. Plus, I have really small hands. It's going to be difficult to hold. But damn it, I should have double wrapped. If I do this again, I will double wrap. So if you guys do it, double wrap. Get the soft, cushy barte. Put some of that bar fat inside. Some gel. There's a gel that goes under your barte, and then double wrap it. Definitely. Basically, the bottom line is there's anything that you can do to get rid of the pain, you should do. My ass didn't hurt the next day. I couldn't believe that. Nobody talks about this enough. People usually the day after Roubaix, they're like walking like cowboys. I was fine the day after. I was riding around in jeans. Yeah, great saddle, great compliance over here. Nutrition was on point.
This makes was a major and definitely.
I can't say enough about disc brakes. Like, no matter what event, disc brakes is the way to go. It's the future. I see no reason to ever use rim brakes again.
So there was a lot of debate over it.
So that's interesting. There's a lot of debate. A lot of it was because of safety, right? So they're like, okay, if you're in a crash with disc brakes, you're going to get burnt or you're going to get cut up and all that. I mean, for safety, we should also get rid of chain rings then. You see the amount of chain ring injuries that happen. So now, I mean, these things have been rounded off. Like, you can spin this and put your finger on it. Like, it was famous, right? It came on. So I did it. You can put your finger on it. Yeah, it does get hot. I don't know, man. The world will come around to it. It's just that, these changes are difficult. It's the most difficult with pro athletes. They're the ones who like change the least. They just like to stick to an old-fashioned thing. Also, support. Like, everybody needs to switch to disc. Otherwise, you get a spare wheel, it doesn't have a disc, it's a problem. But I mean, if you ask me to answer your question, discs is the way to go. I don't want rims anymore. So I would say that ultimate is hydraulic disc brakes. There's no doubt about it. These work really well, but the feel that you get from hydraulic is, and when you're doing something really hard, your hands are like, they take a beating. So this, I mean, if given a choice, yeah, maybe next time I'll do it with hydraulic discs. For riding around here, I don't care. But
You tried tubeless tires?
yeah, another great question. So these wheels can take a tubeless. A lot of people ask me about that. The reason that I went with the tubes is because if I had a flat and I was running tubeless, and then you need to inflate it is a bit tricky. You need to inflate it in one shot. It can get complicated. So I was just like, you know what? Worst case, I need to swap out a tube. I can do it. I can inflate it. I have a pump. So I just thought, let's keep it simple. But again, tubeless is a great way to go. I might run this tubeless now. Actually, on my mountain bike, all tubeless.
What group set are you running on?
So this is, I'm running on this 105.
So it's not electronic.
That's not electronic. I am one of those guys who really doesn't care about group sets. Like, it does not make any difference to the way a bike rides. It makes some difference to weight. I think for Paris-robaix, if I could have had a heavier group set, it would have been good. Can't get enough weight. But this is a 105 setup. By the way, 105 is pretty amazing right now. Even the Tiger is really amazing right now. This has gotten, like, from all the years I've been riding, if you compare group sets now to before, it's like the basic group sets today are amazing. They work really well. So, yeah. So, yeah, I actually, this bike, it comes with 1132. That's what it comes equipped with. I changed the cassette to an Altegra 1128 because I knew it was a flat course. So it was a good cassette. It was also lighter. Like a fool, I thought lighter was better. But actually, I was doing some training in the mountains before, so I paid the price for that with this. But yeah, this bike comes with a cassette, which is everything that you need. You can climb. This is a compact, mid-compact, 5236. So with the 36 and 32.
Did you ever have to go to the small children?
Ooh, I don't think so.
You see a lot of one bike?
Yeah, there were guys on one bikes. There were some guys on one bikes. There were guys on one by mountain bikes and on one by cyclocross bikes. But this is the kind of event where you're going to be in your big chainring. You're just looking for speed the whole time and powering. So I don't think I ever went into the small. Yeah, that's a flat course. That's fine. You can do it on one by there. Yeah.
Since you said that everything was flying around, were you wearing your spectacles or like?
At the start, yes, but no. No, I was wearing not my opticals, but I was wearing shades, clear ones, because there's a lot of dust in Roubaix. So I knew that in fact, I bought them the day or 2 days before. I was really having trouble finding the right glasses, and I was like, oh my god, I just need to buy something. So I was wearing riding glasses, but not my opticals. I'm used to riding mountain bikes without them. The less you see, the less you stress. For those of you who have good eyesight, get opticals for your mountain biking. Or a little bit blurry. It's good.
Okay, guys. So last question before we end the conversation.
Actually, normally on the cobbles, like what was the gear ratio you're doing it?
Wow. So what gear ratio was I riding on the cobbles?
Yeah.
I have no idea. I was in my big chainring.
Okay.
That's for sure. But as for number of teeth, you better worry about the ones in your mouth when you're riding the cobbles. Seriously, I don't know. You're shifting gears every once in a while just to make sure that you're going as hard as you can. But you can't look back. No idea, man. It's you're going as hard as you can go, as fast as you can go, and whatever gear you need to be in. You're not doing too much shifting, frankly. Just trying to maintain that speed.
Okay, so that's
Finishing music. Very nice touch.
Yeah, that's the ending music. Yeah, so that ends the conversation, and we have some. Is the upma and the smoothies still available?
Yes.
Yeah, for those of us who've not yet had some of the snacks we served earlier, please come and have it. And
For those who already had it, 1 second.
now you can have it again. Yeah.
Sorry.
Thank you for coming. Sorry, I didn't say that. I was more worried about the food. Please come.
And also we also have a lot of events coming up on all the May, and we have a calendar out. It's on our Facebook page. It's also on our box website.
Yeah.
There's a lot of rides. So May is riding month. So please look out for our calendar. We put it up. We have some longer rides. We have some shorter rides. Leaving either from Infantry Road or from Jayanagar, and we also have a bunch of events lined up for the months coming up. So do have a look and do keep coming back.
Yeah, so one of the events that to look forward to is these guys have just come back from the friendship. I think about 25 people from Bangalore went. I'm looking forward to having a similar session with these guys so that the number next year could be 50 as an inspiration. Yeah, so look forward to that event. I think we'll have it the following month.
Yeah, I want to do one last thank you also. Firstly, thank you for sitting here and listening. I know it can be rough, it's like the cobbles. But actually, I also really wanted to thank everybody who was following, on Facebook and on Instagram. And I knew that, I need to, that's something I've learned from Namu. She comes up with these ridiculous goals. I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to go public with it. So then I have to do it. So I was like, okay, maybe this is what I need to do. I need to go completely public with it, and I will share everything that I'm doing with everyone. And I got a lot of support back. Just the likes or little comments, and it was really helpful. So everybody who was watching, following, and liking, and so on, a big thank you, because. Come race morning, I was like, okay, now all these people are watching. I have to finish this thing. So thank you to everyone for that. And so maybe you can finally get the video to work.
Right.
It's loaded?
It's loaded right.
There's no Suraj mix and all that.
I'm scared to play.
DJ Sue!
So while we're having the food, I think I'll set up the video. We can watch it actually.
If anybody wants, I also want to thank God for having me be part of this event. If anyone wants to talk to me about some of the superfoods, I've brought them over here and we have a sample as well.
There's a little stall as well, right?
Yeah.
Look at that. My biceps were hurting more than
It worked. It worked.
Suraj. Suraj.
Excuse me, sir. Could you just throw it out, please? Yes, regarding the
Hey, Suraj.
Can you say thank you for watching? Guys, thank you for watching. We're going to end the broadcast.